what actually comes after the chatbot. Hey everyone, and welcome back to This Explainer. If you joined us for the last one, you know we've been building up to this. Today, we are picking up right where we left off, diving deep into chapters 25 through 28 of our source material. And don't worry if you're a beginner, we're going to break this all down step by step. We're at this absolutely fascinating inflection point right now. For the last couple of years, we've all been, amazed by AI that can chat with us, write a poem, or summarize a long article. But we're moving away from those reactive tools that just kind of sit there waiting for a prompt, and we're stepping into the era of proactive digital colleagues. Today, we're literally looking at the architect's blueprints for building what are known as Agentic AI systems.
Okay, so let's just quickly look at our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the era of agents, the 5-step agent loop, core design patterns, the power of teamwork, the human in the loop, and wrap it all up with the future of AI.
So, Part 1. The era of agents beyond the chatbot.
The shift we're talking about, it represents a massive, game-changing upgrade in how we interact with machines. I absolutely love this quote from Marco Argenti because it just perfectly visually sets the stakes for why this matters. He says, it's the difference between a static subway map and a dynamic GPS that reroutes you in real time. Think about traditional, rules-based software. It's exactly like a static subway map. It follows a fixed, pre-programmed path, right? But the second it hits an unexpected obstacle, like a closed station, it just breaks. An AI agent, on the other hand, acts like a dynamic GPS. It observes that roadblock, it recalculates, and it actually finds another way. It possesses this kind of digital common sense to navigate weird edge cases.
So, what exactly is an agentic system? The formal definition we have here is a computational entity designed to perceive its environment, make informed decisions, and execute actions to autonomously achieve specific goals. That's a mouthful. But for anyone just getting started with this, the absolute easiest way to think about it is that these agents have real flexibility and initiative. They aren't just fancy calculators, they're smart assistants that literally learn on the job. They don't just output text, they can actually use tools, read databases, and trigger whole workflows completely on their own.
All right, moving into Section 2, the 5-step agent loop, the problem-solving engine. Now, you might be wondering, how does an agent actually achieve these complex goals in practice? Well, this brilliantly illustrates the core process. Notice how it's shaped like a funnel. An agentic system takes this wide, ambiguous task from a user and systematically narrows it down into a concrete, executed solution. It's essentially a continuous loop of problem-solving. Let's actually break down exactly what happens inside this funnel.
Here is that 5-step loop in action. Let's use a real-world example. Say you give the agent a mission. Organize my schedule for the week. Okay, that's step 1. Get the mission. In step 2, it scans the scene, meaning it reads your recent emails, checks your calendar, and looks at your contacts just to get the full context. Step 3, it thinks it through, putting together an optimal plan to fit all your meetings together without any double booking. Step 4, it takes action by actually sending out those calendar invites. And step 5, it learns and gets better based on what worked and what didn't. Pretty cool, right?
Okay, Section 3, core agentic design patterns, the blueprints of intelligence.
You can think of these design patterns as the essential, reusable blueprints that essentially give an agent its brain. Let's look at the first absolutely crucial blueprint, routing. While a simple AI just answers a prompt directly, real-world agents, they need to make choices. You can think of routing simply as the agent's internal traffic cop. When a request comes in, this routing mechanism analyzes the real-time environment and decides, okay, which specific path, specialized function, or external tool is best suited to handle this right now. It is the absolute foundation of dynamic decision-making.
But hey, what happens when the agent makes a mistake? Because let's be real, even the most advanced AI screws up sometimes. That brings us to the reflection pattern. This is where an agent actually evaluates its own work, its internal state, or its output to iteratively improve and self-correct. Basic workflows just don't have a built-in way to fix errors. Reflection gives the agent a mechanism to essentially double-check its own homework before ever handing it over to you.
And what's really interesting is how this process plays out visually. Notice the literal loop right there. The agent generates an output, but instead of just sending it straight to the user, that output feeds right back into the agent itself, it critiques itself, it refines the answer, and then it loops again if necessary. It's a closed circuit of continuous refinement.
We can actually level this up even further. Look at this structure. This builds on that previous concept by actually separating the tasks. You have a producer agent that generates the work, and a completely separate critique agent that evaluates it. Why do it this way? Well, because a dedicated critique agent acts as a specialized auditor. It guarantees a much higher level of objectivity, catching blind spots that the original producing agent might have completely missed.
So the crucial point here is knowing exactly when to use these reflection blueprints. The rule of thumb is pretty straightforward. Use reflection when quality and accuracy are far more critical than getting a fast, cheap response. If you're asking an agent to write complex computer code or generate a highly detailed project plan or navigate some strict constraints, you definitely want that self-correction loop running. But if you just need a quick summary of a news article, you probably don't need it.
Another incredibly vital pattern is memory management. Just like us humans, agents need memory to be truly effective. They need short-term memory to keep track of a current conversation and long-term memory to remember your specific preferences from, say, a month ago. Proper memory management bridges that gap, turning an isolated, one-off task into a persistent, ongoing relationship with the user.
Moving on to Section 4, the power of teamwork, multi-agent collaboration.
Sometimes a single agent just isn't enough to solve a really massive problem. This highlights a critical comparison. On the one side, we have a monolithic agent, basically a jack of all trades. But these guys struggle when tasks cross into multiple complex domains. On the other side, we have a multi-agent ensemble. This uses something called task decomposition. A massive problem is broken down into tiny subtasks and handed off to highly specialized AI experts. You might literally have one agent researching, another agent writing, and a third agent fact-checking. They can even engage in collaborative debate to find the absolute best solution.
Section 5, Human in the Loop, the ultimate anchor. So I know you're probably thinking, where do humans actually fit into this whole system? Are we just making ourselves obsolete? Let me reassure you right now, this technology is entirely about synergy, not replacement. The AI handles the autonomy, the massive computational power, the sheer speed, the data processing efficiency. But the human? We provide the oversight, we provide the nuanced judgment, the ethics, and the high-level strategic direction. An agent might be able to write an entire marketing campaign in 5 seconds, but a human must be in the loop to decide if it perfectly aligns with the company's core strategy.
And finally, Section 6, the future of AI, building on the canvas. As these systems evolve, how do we actually guide them? Well, this monitoring and evaluating agent performance pyramid gives us a really solid framework. Because as we deploy these agents into the real world, we can't just let them run wild, right? We have to define clear objectives, collect data consistently, and provide actionable feedback. We literally have to coach our agents, measuring their effectiveness and rewarding them when they succeed, very much like managing a real human team. Which perfectly leads into this core philosophy from our source material. It says, human developers act as creative leads and architects, while AI agents function as force multipliers. This is absolutely the ultimate takeaway here. You are the orchestrator. The AI is simply the most powerful tool you've ever had at your disposal to multiply your creative and analytical output. So we're going to leave you with this final provocative thought. The blueprints for this next era of technology are quite literally in your hands. We've moved from static maps to dynamic GPS systems. We now have agents that can route, reflect, remember, and collaborate. The entire infrastructure is there. The only question left is, what will you build on the Agentic canvas? Thank you so much for joining us on this explainer. Keep learning, keep building, and we'll see you next time.